Gotta save the, when was the last time? Well, I guess you just updated your resume, huh? To get these new jobs.
I did.
Or to get a new job and apply.
Yes.
Just updated my resume. I haven't updated it since I started this new job. And fucked up, Mikey. I fucked up.
Oh no.
I'm updating my resume just in case. So we have a new guy that started in my department this week.
Okay.
And myself and hold on, before I say that.
Okay.
Have we ever said on this show that everything we say is made up? We write, this is all fiction.
This is a pure...
We write this banter and everything.
Any similarities or likeness is purely coincidental, just like on Law and Order.
Exactly. Exactly. So none of this is real. Nobody should ever believe anything that we say here. That's been established. I think we need to say that.
My name's not even Mikey, so...
It's not. It's not. My name's Steve, though. I don't know why, but Mikey just sounded better for you. But anyway, so none of this is real. But if it were real, there's this guy that's starting at my work this week in my department, and me and a coworker, who was like my BFF coworker. She's the one that we're always, whenever me and her in Zoom meetings, we're the ones IMing off on the sides, like, look at the face that so and so's making or whatever, you know. And like, you know, we're like, oh, this fuck work. This is, I can't believe this is coming down. You know, we have that kind of relationship. So me and her are the ones that's tasked with training this new guy. We'll call him Matt. We're tasked with training this guy. So yesterday, my coworker buddy, I guess I got to give her a name too. We'll say that her name is Madison.
Okay.
Okay. So my coworker Madison, she sends me an IM saying, hey, I know that we have to train Matt this week. There's something that I want to train him on later in the week, but I want you to train him on your part first because it's kind of a precursor to what I'm going to train him on. I was like, yeah, sure.
Makes sense.
So I set up a meeting on our Outlook calendar, and I invited myself, Madison, and Matt to the meeting. And just a few minutes later, Madison messages me and says, hey, Matt cannot make it to that meeting. He has a scheduling conflict. And me, just being the funny guy and with the way that me and Madison communicate, I responded back in the IM window. I said, God damn it, Matt, in all capital letters. It's just like a funny, you know, God damn it, Matt, now I have to reschedule this. It's so easy to reschedule. It doesn't matter. Madison doesn't say anything for a good 10 minutes after that. And then afterwards, she sends me the 3 skull emojis. And she goes, I'm dead. And I go, what are you talking about? She goes, Steven, I was sharing my screen with Matt while you sent me that. And it popped up and I couldn't close it fast enough. And I know that he saw it. And I said, okay, then did you tell him that everything I say is a joke?
Just explain the
everything
situation.
I always say is always a
Very
joke.
easily explainable.
She said, no, I panicked. I didn't know what to do, so I just ignored it.
God damn it, Madison.
Seriously. So now I have this training. I got to train Matt. I have this meeting tomorrow with Matt. And the thing is, Matt's boss, who's not my boss, but it's or whatever. Matt's boss is on this meeting too, so I can't even start the meeting tomorrow to be like, "Hey, Matt, welcome to the team. By the way, you might have saw something. That's just we're kidding around because I don't want Matt's boss to know that happened." Anyways, I'm updating my resume because I may be getting a Zoom call from HR later today or tomorrow.
Jeez.
And God damn it, Madison. God damn it. And I guess it's a lesson for me. I need to just be careful. It's work. I shouldn't be saying things like that, but that's just how we talk. And
I think it'll be understood. And, you know, if Matt's going to make an issue out of it, I think, you know, if anything, you could forward them a link to this episode of the podcast. And then that way they would get the background. They'd understand the sincerity of, you know, all these fictitious characters. You could, you know, in theory, hypothetically speaking, Send them a link to this
Yeah,
made
this
up
storyline.
podcast.
I wrote this storyline out. That was a good storyline, right? It was all fake.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody's wondering.
It's an episode
That's
for a
all
sitcom.
fake. Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, so I got my resume
Just in case.
updated just in case. You might need to help me find a job.
so why were you
Anyways,
fired?
Well,
Yeah.
oh man, what's up with you, Mikey?
Uh,
You just gained a new job. I may be
did.
losing a job. All life is cyclical. You're the yin to my yang.
that is we do balance each other out. I'm just getting ready for it. I'm trying to get my work. This is a 100% remote job, so I'm trying to get my work environment exactly the way I want it. So that way I have work mode and then I can just jump to playing video games and stuff right afterwards. And
With this job, was it? Maybe you don't know, but I wonder if this job was remote before the pandemic, or if now this job has become remote because of the pandemic.
I was wondering that. I think there are probably call centers or something like that for some of this, because the way this works, this is a pretty massive operation, and I would be willing to bet that maybe this was remote, but maybe from like a tech office, because it is an IT support position with a lot of, with some back-end administration related stuff. But the people I will be supporting are all across the country. We are going to be using the Pacific time zone. Like any times mentioned, like I'm going to have to get in the habit of like any times I use are going to have to be framed for Pacific time, because everything that's done for this company is done in the Pacific time zone, and everyone who works for this company is just
set
all
up
over there.
You set up some wall clocks above.
That's
that
not a
says,
bad idea.
This is what time it is in LA. This is what time it is in London. This is what time it is, everywhere.
Yeah.
So you're on the same. Since I've moved, I grew up in the Central Time Zone. Now I live in the Pacific Time Zone. In my head, it's very easy for me to change it, in my head as I'm speaking. But it took a little while getting used to.
Yeah.
So if you've never really had to deal with that, so it'll be a little different.
It'll be a shift. The one nice thing is I'm already looking at within what do we use? Microsoft. We use Microsoft products, so things between like Outlook and Calendar and that sort of stuff. I can just tell it to default to the Pacific time zone. So if I got to schedule a meeting or set a reminder or something like that, I'm already buying. Like, look at this! I got this little thing for my desk. It's a little post-it note. It's a little cat, and you pull it off.
Look at that!
I got that, so I can write all my reminders. So I'm a post-it note kind of person when it comes to trying to make sure I remember things, because otherwise digital notes are great, but that's for like big extensive things for me to remember. If it's like, hey, you need to do this thing, I'll have reminders, have email reminders, have all that sort of stuff, but then having a post-it note just along the bezel of my monitor and stuff is something I need. So it is going to be a transition.
Everything else is so easy to dismiss. Like if you get a little reminder pop up or something on your computer and you're in the middle of something, it's really easy to dismiss that. But when you have, I'm the same way. I have a bunch of sticky notes here all over my screen of like important stuff that I have to do, and it's that physical reminder. It's
same. Even when I have notifications to my phone, I'm someone who intentionally will always keep my phone face down, and I have the setting on my phone so that when it is face down, it mutes certain notifications and stuff like that. So if I'm doing something, I normally don't anyways. Point being, I think, it is going to be a transition, but there are some tools, and I think I might just do that. I might have 2 clocks set up so that way I can remember always that it is, what time is it there right now, because I will be helping people
at least for a little while. You're going to get used to it, because even so, the company that I work for as of today, at least, our team is split up. We have a campus here in San Diego, and we also have half of our team is in Texas, is in San Antonio, and we work with them a lot. So it's just in our minds. I just know that if I'm setting up a meeting with somebody and they're in Texas, it's 2 hours difference. So I just kind of you'll pick up on that. I feel.
And one thing I'm two things before we move on from the time zone difference is that one thing I always think of anytime I think of having those clocks, because I've thought of doing that, especially when I have family overseas and check. They're 7 hours ahead. Sometimes they're 6 hours, things like that, depending on what time of year and stuff like that, I guess. So I think in England, they don't do daylight savings. They did away with it. I don't know. A friend of mine had to explain it to me that they have that some time of the year, they're 6 hours ahead. Sometimes of the year, they're 7 hours ahead, stuff like that. If you ever seen the movie Airplane?
No, everybody tells me I should
that's
see
a very
it. They're
you
like,
movie.
That's your humor. People say that.
That's exactly your movie.
I've never watched it though.
Well, next time you're here, if you haven't seen it, we'll need to watch it because it's. Anyways, I watch it once a year, and one joke I most recently picked up on my last watch through was they have at the airport a bunch of those clocks because back in I think it's based in the 70s. They have a bunch of those clocks, and they're all there's a bunch of different cities, but they're all in the same time zone, so all the clocks have the same time on them. And I thought that was really funny. But anyways, the other thing is that. One thing I guess I get why some businesses don't, but I had this one friend who was a software developer, and he was based over in Maine. He was a friend I had made in Maine. And then they had...
Is his name Mark Zuckerberg?
Not quite. But they had a few people that were kind of peppered through the country, but specifically between different time zones, so that he would pick up part of the work, start doing his sort of the stuff, because the people who lived more west really couldn't do things until he had them done. And so it really worked well for their specific team. They worked in VR development. Smart. So he would start his work, and then up in Maine, so they would be 3 hours ahead. Yeah, 3 hours ahead of people over on the West Coast. So most of their team was either on the East Coast or on the West Coast with a couple of people in between. And whenever, he'd be starting his day at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., by the time he'd be going to lunch, they would be starting their day. They'd just be in the groove of things. And so it was this really good handoff between them. And from what I understand, the team I'm going to be on, they do this similar thing where they have some people all the way on the East Coast, because our day will start, I think, 6 a.m. in Pacific time. And so they want people to kind of be awake and ready to go. So they have some people on the East Coast, but then our day can extend all the way to midnight. So they also want people on the West Coast to be able to handle, being able to stay up late and it not, they not actually be up at, well, I guess they would actually be up at midnight, but that way you just kind of slowly cascade.
That's smart. Yeah.
And so we'll see that. I think we'll see that more and more with these remote jobs. I would be surprised if everyone actually had to go to an office to support people, because this is the kind of job, the people that do what I'm going to be supporting them to do, they were working remotely already. It was basically they were doing consulting through online chat.
Yeah, you don't need to be in an office for that.
So yeah, it just saves them the company money. But yeah, I don't know if before how that was before pre-pandemic, but it's remote now.
What do you think about what Google's doing with the people that are working remote? Have you heard about that?
The last story I heard was that some dude, some VP or something like that, who was like, nope, we're coming back to the office. And then he's like, nope, me and my wife, we're going to New Zealand to isolate and take away and work remotely. And then a whole bunch of people there were pissed because he's doing exactly what they were wanting to do, but it was only for him. So I don't know now what their current plan is. Well,
so now they're apparently letting people work from home.
Okay,
but the caveat is, and they've given these people what they call an income tracker or planner or something like that. If you move, so everybody lives in, I guess, Google, Silicon Valley. It's expensive to live there. Yeah. Let's say you move to Utah where the cost of living is lower. They're going to lower your pay.
That's some bullshit.
Based on that. So they've given them this link to where you go in and you can put in the zip code of where you live or where you might want to live. And I'll tell you, okay, right now you're making, $89,000 a year. If you move to, somewhere in the middle of Ohio, we're going to have to lower your pay down to $77,000 a year, which is shitty for so many reasons.
That's some
because
bullshit.
What does it matter? You're already paying them.
Yeah.
You've established that it cost $98,000 a year or whatever it is for this job. I'm doing the job. I'm still hitting all the things that need to be done with this job. Mm-hmm. Why do you have to pay me less? It's not that they can't afford it. It's really just a deterrent, I guess, to get people not to do that. There's no other reason. And that's shitty, man.
That's so scummy.
That's shitty. Yeah. It's, that's kind of new. And I haven't heard of anybody else doing that. I'll be curious to see if other companies, take Google's lead and follow after that, or if there's enough pushback from the employees at Google to be like, no way, dude, fuck you.
That's got to be there's going to be some court case coming out. I think obviously there's always court cases and big, things like that. I think, with all the changes in the workforce, and then not on top of, not even mentioning going into the vaccination, required vaccination now that it's, FDA approved and all that sort of stuff, like insurance premiums. I just heard one insurance company, if you aren't vaccinated, they're upping your monthly premiums by $200, things like that.
How do you feel about that?
Well, the thing is one, fuck insurance companies.
Well, that's the thing that I struggle with this, is because I want to, I kind of want to tell people that are not getting the vaccine, fuck you, get the vaccine. Let's all do this. Let's get it done. But I hate the fact that it's okay. I don't want the health insurance companies to be making more money off. They don't need to be making any more money off of this.
No, I think the way if I could pick the way it would happen, it would be more like social, I don't want to say social justice, but like social activities, going to venues and stuff like that. And also having,
like if you're going to go to a concert or something, show us your vaccine card, which I guess that doesn't even matter.
Because you can just scan it and stuff. There needs to be more follow-up on that sort of stuff. Like the stories I hear of people getting caught the most is either someone's giving them a lead, then, law enforcement or whoever is in charge of that, giving them leads, or it being very obvious. Like most recently I heard of a family that they tried to pass off fake vaccine cards for their kids who were too young to get it. And it's like, okay, now, come on.
Yeah,
that's just it's just so scummy to me that some people would go and do something that's free. It's like, okay, you don't have to get the vaccine. Just stay home. Just don't go to these public places. That's all you have to do. But instead, you're going to be such a shitty person and so selfish that you're going to endanger other people. You're going to have these, hospitals filling up where then other people can't get treatment. It's just ridiculous. There's no other.
It's scary. So there's somebody that we know whose dad just had a heart attack, like a
serious one.
It was a serious heart attack. Like it was like odds are like he probably should have died, or he was very close to
one of his valves was 100% blocked, and then two more were 70% blocked.
And it came out of nowhere. And as far as I know, this guy is a healthy guy. He's not some guy that's 400 pounds and eating KFC all day. And it's like, oh, of course, he's going to have a heart attack. No, this is a healthy guy, and it kind of came out of nowhere. And it just has to happen now. And from what I can tell, our friend was saying that it was hard to find an ICU room for him.
He literally got the last bed.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, what if this guy died because these other people just wanted to be, I don't know how I feel about the vaccine. It just seems a little rough. Just no.
And stay home.
Yeah.
But I have to work.
Not
well,
okay.
then or people losing their jobs. Like that's, fine. Especially if there's someone who works in the medical field. I respect nurses and doctors and, the work that they do. But if you're going to be someone who's going to, and we talked about this some, having more staff versus less staff at the point to where it's been approved. And this isn't something like, I know a lot of people think that the vaccine was, from start to finish, from conception till being rolled out, it was all happening in 1 year.
They just started to barely look at it. Yeah. They just started to look at it in May. No. This is years and years and years of research that they've already been doing. But it's, I don't have the patience that I used to have. And I used to, I thought there were, and I guess there still is, two groups. There are people that are anti-vax and there's people that are vaccine hesitant. And I have more patience for people that are vaccine hesitant because I understand the hesitancy of a government telling you have to do this. And it's putting a foreign, I get that. But that patience every single day is getting lower and lower and lower and lower because I don't see there's no good reason anymore to not get the vaccine. And if you're hesitant, okay, I got to do my own research. Okay, do your research. Did you do your research? If you're not doing your actual research, but you're saying, well, I don't know, then no, fuck off. You don't get to act like, oh, I don't know about this. You don't know because you're not trying to know.
Yeah, you're keeping your intentional ignorance is just, to me, it's even probably worse to, if that's the camp you're in. Again, this is where you start getting to that near impossible. I think we talked about a couple episodes back where it's like the way I like to approach those sorts of things is knowing the true intent. If someone is like, I'm just trying to get reliable research, I'm overwhelmed with this information, I don't know who to believe, I don't know how to go about it. Okay, I can get that, but still, you need to play it safe. You can just not go out then. Like if you are not willing to do that, and I get there are legitimate health concerns. Like we have another friend who literally doesn't have a spleen, and that's a very important part of the immune system. And so, there's times where you can get a vaccine.
I don't know anybody that doesn't have a spleen.
Yeah, you do.
What?
Your made-up friend Madison. Your non-made-up friend Madison. They had their spleen removed.
Oh.
Yeah. Plus anyone else out there who has their spleen removed. There's, from what I understand, and I haven't looked into this because I do have my spleen, so it's not something that directly affects me, but I'm somewhat interested in it, is that some vaccines don't work if you don't have a spleen, because your body, it's like it goes through and it cleans it out, but it doesn't hold on, it doesn't retain things long term. This is an oversimplification, but it doesn't retain what it needs to long term to be able to fight it off in the future. And so it's like you'd be getting continual booster shots, and what's the toll at that level and that sort of stuff. But there are some legitimate medical exemptions. But then this person is also taking time off from work to play it safe. They're doing their part by doing that. They're taking a hit that way, living off their savings to be able to do that. So while they do their research and they learn more, they consult, professionals, people who are actually trained about that. And that's where, if you're not going to consult professionals, you're not going to play it safe then, and you're still going to choose to not get the vaccine, then yeah, you don't have a limb to stand on. It's ridiculous.
Piss or get off the pot. Like, you're not allowed to be just hesitant this whole time. Like, you got to make a decision. Mm-hmm. You're either going to be an anti-vaxxer, who I don't have the patience for.
Yeah.
Because you're willfully not looking at the right information, or you're willingly putting people in danger just to have this stance. I think most of it's political. Or you're going to get the vaccine. So you're an anti-vaxxer, or you're going to be vaccinated, and you can join in and play with us in the sandbox.
There was one, what was the show? I think it was on Netflix, maybe Hulu. I think it was on Netflix, though, where they interview people whom have very strong stances on something controversial, and one of the episodes was on vaccines and looking at.
Was this pre-COVID? This was like the
this was pre-COVID.
MMRA vaccines, measles, all the stuff that you need to go to school.
Other those first wave of anti-vaxxers was going with it. And it was also, or maybe it was also with it was essential oils, and they talked about it, I think is what it was. Yeah, one more layer to it. And so with that, they were talking about how they weren't sure if the vaccines were, and because they weren't sure, they don't
essential oils. I like essential oils. You know why?
Why?
Because they smell good.
Yes,
that's all they're good for.
And there's some.
That's it.
And the thing is what the take home from it is that yes, there are mental benefits similar to that of, maybe not on par with, but similar to that of meditation or praying.
All my stress is gone now.
Yeah, but cancer and broken legs and all that sort of stuff isn't what that sort of stuff fixes. And nor do vaccines cause autism, and even anything, a lot of those things. And even if they did, I don't know if it was Penn and Teller who, or in some other shows, looked at, okay, let's take the statistics, the math, and look at it. The chances of that happening are still so much marginally lower than you getting that actual disease that you're vaccinating against. Yeah. It's like you're still picking the worst poison. So I'm going to have two bowls of M&Ms, of 1,000 M&Ms. One of them is going to have one poisonous one. The other one's going to have 100 poisonous ones. Like, it was on an order of magnitude difference. And that's where it's just, I'm obviously not a doctor, so I'm going to defer to what the doctors say. And that's one other thing is, like, when you do be like, well, if you talk to an anti-vaxxer about this, then they try to, look at, well, you're not a doctor. You haven't ran the experiments yourself. It's like, no, I'm not a doctor. And that's why I'm looking and regurgitating what the doctors say, and the ones whom do look at it. And also, there's just so many layers, and so many layers of stupid and willful ignorance is one of the things I think that pisses me off. It's one thing if someone is actually confused by and overwhelmed overwhelming amount of information that they can't understand it the right way. But it's a different thing to where it's, if you're choosing.
When does the clock end for that though? Because yeah, you're overwhelmed, but all right, you got to figure it out. You know, we're all overwhelmed. We all got shit to do. I think that the clock is just about. The vaccine's been started to become available. I think in March for people who are the most vulnerable.
Sounds about right.
So we're coming up. We're coming up on 6 months.
Yeah.
All right, you've had your time to do your research. Okay, do your clinical trials, whatever the fuck you're gonna do. You've had your time to do it.
Yeah.
If you're not actually doing it, then you don't get to just be, look, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just have questions. No, you don't get to you don't get to play that way anymore.
Home.
I'm sorry.
For me, it's just stay home. If you don't want to take that risk that way, why take the risk going out and getting this one? Or people who lean on, well, it doesn't protect against the Delta variant, so it doesn't matter at all. It's like telling someone who smokes 2 packs of cigarette a day, that's like, hey, you're down to 2 cigarettes a day versus 2 packs.
Yeah.
You know, you might as well just stick to the 2 packs. It doesn't really make a difference. It does. It really does.
Yeah.
I think that's that. It's not gambler's fallacy is not the right term, but it's, you know, it's like it's the same reason that people don't understand. I think the degree to which the efficacy of things like vaccines are the same reason casinos make so much money. And there's a fun element to casino, so it's not the best analogy, but I think just, you know, if you're going to go to a casino to actually try and make money, you're going in for all the wrong reasons. If you're going to go in for have fun and you're going to be like, I'm going to lose $200 and then call it a day, you're going in with the right mindset. But, you know, most people, I think you have some people who go in thinking they're going to make some money, and that's just not how gambling works. Just like with statistics, if you're going to choose to not get the vaccine, you're not improving your odds of getting something, you know, of staying healthy or something like that by avoiding the lesser of two evils. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. And not only that, you're affecting everyone else around you.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. And I heard someone one time say, well, it's all these same people who for years have been saying, you know, it's my body, it's my choice. And now they're all up, you need to get the vaccine. That's different. If I'm getting something like an abortion, or if I'm having some medical procedure that affects me, that's one thing. If I'm choosing to smoke cigarettes in public, that's a whole different thing. Sure, it's my money, it's my body, my choice to smoke a cigarette, but I'm affecting everyone around me. And I'm actually someone, I don't want to say I'm a victim, but I'm someone who has to deal with that shit, having grown up around cigarette smokers.
Yeah. And all the abortions you've had, Mikey, have not affected other people.
Nope.
If you're going to apply that, you know, that logic to it. Yeah, we already do have laws that prevent you from smoking inside establishments so that you're not affecting other people. Mm-hmm. You're already bound by those laws, and we're trying to do the same thing here.
And even more an extreme example, or maybe not extreme is not the right word, but another, you know, an even stronger example is that with seatbelts. Like, we think seatbelts, it's just me. You know, well, one, if you are responsible, if you have any dependents, it's a shitty thing to do to not wear a seatbelt. They're like, well, there's situations where it could be, right? But again, the statistics show that. And the data, not even statistics, but the data shows that the likelihood of the seatbelt being the cause of you to die where you wouldn't have died otherwise is so marginal, like orders of magnitude less. And then that's not enough. See, if you were to die because you didn't wear a seatbelt, that doesn't just affect you. That costs taxpayers. For someone to die on public roads and stuff like that costs people a lot of money. And that sort of stuff just adds up. And a lot of people are just, they don't get it. Or
not even that. If you're not wearing a seatbelt and you fly out the window and you hit another car that otherwise would have been living their regular life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That does happen.
Yeah. And there's just so many things where it's just people don't like being told what to do. I hear people, you know, at the job I have now, I work on computers, and I have people talking about, like, oh man, why is this battery die so quickly on this laptop? Well, one of the things is, like, for the last 2 weeks, we've been getting brownouts like every 2 hours over here. All because we don't want to tell electric companies how to run their, like, what standards to set brownouts, where it doesn't go out, but the lights start flickering and stuff.
Oh, I've always thought of, wait, is brownouts, is that a new term?
No, that's
I've used the term brownout for, like, whenever you have, like, spotty memory of, like, whenever you've been drinking and you're not full blackout drunk. Yeah. I've had brownouts before where things are kind of fuzzy. I didn't know that applied to
like
the electric grid.
Because a blackout is where it's, you know, everything shuts off completely. Yeah. Yeah, that sound effect plays. They played on the tornado sirens, so that everyone knows blackouts happen. But a brownout is where, the lights will like maybe go out and stuff, and it causes a bunch of damage on computers, anything plugged in, lamps, even if it's not turned on. Passive power is passively going through there. All the capacitors, anything that you have plugged in when brownout happens, has additional wear and tear and put onto it. I've recently coming back to getting set up for this new job, I went and bought a backup universal power supply. So one, if the power does go out completely, I can at least save everything I have. But
do surge protectors protect against that damage?
Surge protectors protect against an overabundance of electricity coming through. So if too much electricity comes through, they'll cut off. If there's too little power, under voltage and stuff going through, they don't protect against that. The other thing is they don't clean the electricity. So some universal power supplies will actually clean the electricity, so to say, so that it puts less wear and tear onto the devices plugged into them.
So this is just a regular surge protector. This doesn't protect against brownouts?
I don't think you have to worry about them because you'll have actually, literally everywhere else in the continental U.S. except for Texas has certain standards and regulations they have to meet. It's not to say blackouts are good for those devices, but they just don't have as many problems. Or like if a blackout does happen, from what I understand, power can get rerouted. Usually, if you're in a metropolitan area, it can get rerouted from somewhere else relatively okay. That's why it was such a big deal when New York lost power for a while, like a year or two ago, for a considerable amount of time. It was so crazy because it's like this doesn't usually happen. Like rolling blackouts used to be a thing.
Do you remember when? I don't know if you remember. We were children when this happened, but I recently watched a video about it, and then it was like a compilation of news coverage from when this happened. But in New York City in 2002, they had a blackout. And this was in New York City in 2002. So this is just after 9/11 happened. People didn't know what was going on. People were freaking out because it was an extended blackout. It wasn't just and maybe people that are listening or watching to this, I don't know what people's experiences are with losing electricity. But in Texas, it happens a lot. You have a lot of thunderstorms. The line gets knocked down in your neighborhood and you're without power.
Yeah.
For sometimes I've been without power for up to like 12 hours before and it sucked. But, it is whatever. Usually happens in the summer. So it's not I guess usually at night. I never had a blackout whereas like I had to deal with like extreme heat or extreme frozen temperatures or anything like that, like you guys had. So maybe people aren't, used to that. I don't know what happens in the rest of the United States. Since I've been in here in California, I haven't lost my power once.
Yeah.
And I think that I am lucky for that because we do have rolling blackouts here whenever the energy grid is overloaded or whatever it is. But there's a point that I'm getting to, and here's what I'm trying to say is the following. Fuck, I forget what I was saying. I thought it would just come out just now. Damn it!
I believe you. I thought you were about to lay something out.
Oh man, I lost it about halfway through it. I kept talking, thinking it was going to come out.
With the rolling blackouts they had in New York back in 2002, you saw and you didn't know if it was the same elsewhere.
Yeah, I get. Oh yeah, I get. It was. I think it was shocking to them because they're not used to having their electricity cut off. Even whenever there's large snowstorms and stuff like that, they're usually pretty good about keeping their electricity on. But it was a big deal. Like people were stranded in the subway, so you're underground and you were stranded in the subway. It was a scary deal.
And there were some of those attacks. Like I think I would be surprised if people didn't think it was potentially some follow-up terrorist attack or something like that. There's also all the things in
Especially
London.
back then, everything was so you didn't know.
Yeah, or you remember like just the shift even on television, people or movies, people running to the terminal at the airport to catch the person who they want to shower, show them like I love you so much, and you can't do that anymore. Now you have to have that extra step of give me the cheapest ticket you have somewhere. Waiting in the TSA line. Yeah. Which to this day, as far as I know, the TSA has still not been credited to stopping any terrorist, domestic or foreign, attack in their entire existence. But there have been numerous exploits going where people can show just how it's easy to smuggle certain weapons and stuff on board into the plane, into the cabin, and
But you also don't know, though, how many people are just
not going to
not
do it.
going to put effort into a terrorist attack because they know that the TSA is there. It's the same argument, and maybe it's not a valid argument. Maybe you can disprove my argument, but it's the same thing as like just because you don't see a police officer on your corner of the street every single night doesn't mean that their existence isn't protecting you.
That's completely valid, but I think, I just think if an organized group, especially with the backing of some sort of large government, wanted to make something happen, the TSA isn't going to be the thing that slows them down. Maybe, maybe there's I'm sure there's other protection measures involved.
There's not. Let me tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Why, Steve?
People think that the government's listening to us and listening to our phone calls and everything. They're not. So I've done an experiment over the last couple of years. Every time I fly on a plane for like the week leading up to it, I just say words and this is going to get put on YouTube. So I'm not going to repeat the words right now.
Oh, because there they listen to you.
Well, because then it's out in public, and not that I'm scared that the government's going to come after it, but I just don't want to get YouTube. I don't want to get our video blocked or whatever. But I'll say, and I'll be very blatant about, I have plans to blah 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 on September 16th of 2020 or whatever my flight was, and like I'll say those things and I'll say them on phone calls, whether it be with you or with other people. I'll say it out there just to be like, we're gonna see if they're really gonna come after me if I say it. Nobody's listening.
I'm sure. So everything that is said is recorded. On phones, it's really easy to do. That's just, there's no ands, ifs, or buts about that.
Not my phone calls. Nobody's listening or paying attention to me.
But the thing is that they can analyze a lot of that with just computers that do it automatically. It's not some person sitting there looking at it. And they'll tag it, and it gets a percentage, it's like a rating of some sort, I'm sure, that then tells it what is the potential threat. Maybe if you keep doing it over a long enough time, but like you don't have a criminal background, you have all these things that check you off in terms of being a low risk, and even people who have been labeled as a high risk have, they're people after an atrocious act of violence. There have been times like, well, this person happened to be on the government's watch list and nothing was done leading up to it. And it's just like, there's limited resources.
That's what happened with that guy, the Parkland shooter, the shooter that shot up the high school in Parkland. Was it Parkland, Florida, or is that just the name of the high school? Whatever it is, he had been reported multiple times for a lot of things.
Nothing happened to him.
Oh, we missed it.
Yeah, happens. I think it also depends on the state, but I think
But we can, people get prosecuted and get their, asses beat in interrogations for stuff that's not even real.
I mean, we could, that's, you can just go on and on and on about the double standard.
We're not breaking any news here on any of this.
It's just rehashing the same old bullshit that,
Which, I mean, that's what we do.
But
we rehash the same old bullshit. That's what me and you do.
But, I think there is something to be said about how much, what is listened, how much we're listened to. I think what I'm interested in is who has the most valid data on people, and is it a government? Is it a company? Is it maybe is it something like Facebook or TikTok, or is it a combination? Because in my experience, whenever I do read about AI and how great it is and how smart it is, and people and professionals and all this stuff, the most advanced stuff that always happens in a conjunction and hybrid environment where you have both real people as well as the AI and all these systems that are working together. And so for me, it's going to be a combination of something like social media, be it Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, which is Facebook, and or a government,
Russia.
Be it Russia or China or the US or the one, England has a very extensive system. They've been doing face scanning for a long time. Any government company can still do face scans. I recently read, I don't know the extent to this, but it's super inexpensive to start doing face scans for people and to build a database where it's just, you need infrared cameras. You don't even necessarily need them, but they help a lot. And then just HD cameras. Those, if you've seen at CVS or Walgreens where they have the digital refrigerator doors. Have you seen some of that? Have you ever seen that in person?
I haven't seen any in real life.
Yeah, me neither. I don't really go shopping at those places, but apparently have cameras in front of them. And those things, all they have to do is record
Tracks your eye movement?
Probably tracks your eye movement, takes a picture of your face, starts building a profile. That's all it takes. It's the thing is we don't realize, I think a lot of people don't realize how passive a lot of these technologies are.
We would have to consent to that, though, wouldn't we? What do you mean building a profile?
So for example, so
if I walk into my local CVS and they saw that I bought a Coke there, they're taking that image of me and that I bought a Coke, and then the next time that I go into CVS,
they'll target ads for you. Yeah.
No, that's not happening without my consent.
They don't. What?
There's no way.
You consented when you walked in. You consented to being recorded because it says it right on the door. You're under surveillance. There's closed circuit television for our use, whatever they use it for safety or logistics, whatever reason they put on there. Every store you go into, they don't have to even do that. They just do that mostly as a crime deterrent. Is why they tell you are being recorded.
Yeah,
they don't have to tell you that. You're out in their place.
There's not a. No, because I mean, have you ever been into obviously you have, because you've worked. Well, no, you've worked with in film and TV.
Yeah.
But like I've been into places where they were going to be shooting promotional stuff for a commercial or whatever, and they have these big old signs here that says, "Hey, you by entering here, you are consenting to blah 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 and being recorded in your likeness and everything like that." They're not doing that every time I go into CVS.
Depending on specifically with that example. If they're going to be making money off of your likeness by broadcasting your face, the picture, the images they captured, by broadcasting those, then yeah, they would probably be best for them to get some sort of waiver from you.
Can you hear me chewing?
Yes. Well, now I can. I did that for so long when I first got this microphone, this good one. I'd be eating food like right up on it. But you absolutely.
They're going to get us a lot of views, or it's going to.
We're slowly just gonna turn into an ASMR channel where we just.
A lot of people like that, but a lot of people hate
it. I don't know. Something I should have done. I like taking a bowl of macaroni and cheese or some pasta and mixing it right by the microphone.
Well, good pussy sounds like. Right?
Fresh mac and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you absolutely consent to that when you walk into a private business. Whenever you're out on public property, they don't have to get your consent at all. They can film you. They don't have to get your consent for that because you're in public place.
But to build a profile about me?
Yeah, they can do that whatever they want. I can get a piece of paper right now, write your name down on it, write down what you're wearing. Every time I see you, I just jot a little note down what you're wearing. I don't have to have your consent to record what I see. I can start building a profile of you, and when you do, that's exactly what. Whenever you go shopping at Target, you do those rewards membership things. That's exactly what those things are.
But there's a consent there. Whenever you're signing up for all that stuff, there's always a consent. There's always something you're agreeing to.
For that specifically, yes. But for them to just for you to walk into a store and them to take your picture and then choose to attach some data to it passively, no. Because see, whenever I think you're giving them personally identifiable information whenever you are signing up for a rewards program. That's different than them taking a picture of your face. And sure, someday there should, I'm willing there to be that there will be if a consent form. It may simply be by entering this store you agreed to consent to that. But for now, that legislature doesn't exist. And especially in places like Texas and Florida, we don't want the government telling businesses how they need to run and what they do or don't need to inform the consumers of. So it's going to be a while before that happens. It's also just kind of, we're in that weird development phase of this technology. Even though it's been around, the way it's been implemented hasn't been seen before. So any sort of legislature like that takes a while. But like with Facebook, another example of this is with Facebook. Even if you don't have a Facebook profile, if someone you know has your name and your phone number in their contacts list and they consent to giving Facebook access to their contacts list, Facebook can then use that data to be like, oh, this name is attached to this phone number. We see that is consistently the same across, 80 of our users because you have all these people as friends. Then they can confirm that, hey, this person person with this name has this phone number. And they probably base it the other way around. They probably base, the profile on a phone number because those are more unique than names. So they have that phone number, and then whatever they can attach to that based off what they can scrape through people's contacts list, through the pictures they post, all that sort of stuff builds these ghost profiles, so to say. And then they use that data just to, one, add to how they understand the users that they do have, but they also do that to understand you as you and your demographic for political agencies, for advertising agencies, for anyone that they want to sell that information to. And it is just that way.
I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's where you draw.
I don't care if people have the info.
If you were walking into CVS,
even if I go into CVS, I don't care. I mean, for me, that kind of technology, I feel like benefits me more than it hinders me. I love a personalized ad. I love when I get to scroll on Instagram and there's something that I see on there.
Yeah.
Like, I did not know this existed before, and somehow they know that I'm interested in this, and I want it.
Well, that's the nice side of it. The bad side of it is you get people who then get swayed to be anti-vax because they know how to manipulate and change their feelings and their mood for the day. Facebook's already shown and has come out and said that they've been able to make people depressed or happy by showing them certain news and withholding certain posts and stuff like that. That all comes from the same data. All the good and the bad comes from the same seed.
I think I'm smarter than that. I think I'm smarter than that. I don't think that I can be influenced the way that somebody on.
If they can make you buy a product, they can change your mood.
I don't think that it's. Yeah, I don't think that it's. Maybe I'm not saying that I'm not smart enough is not the right word.
Being aware of it is a big thing.
Yeah.
So the way I've always looked at this,
I think a big thing is like whenever they talk about being red pilled or whatever, and like the kind of radicalization that happens.
But how would you be aware of
especially on YouTube?
Yeah, but how you wouldn't be. I don't know if you could be aware of that. How you couldn't know you were in the Matrix technically, because that's where that red pill, blue pill comes from.
But I mean, I feel like the fact that just even us just being able to talk about that, the fact that the Matrix was a movie that we as a culture came up with. And I don't know. I think people, I'm not. I get to have you as a sounding board. I get to have all my friends and stuff and family that are reasonable, and we've built this community to where I have that. So that's where I think that I don't get played by that.
I think it's important to have people who are very much against, to a degree, that are against. Against isn't the right word. I can't think of the word I'm trying that best fits this. But basically, people that don't agree with you 100% with whatever you say and will play that devil's advocate with you. Because I do have some of my closest friends whom I would consider.
You play that a lot.
I do that a lot with myself.
Advocate.
Yeah, it's annoying.
You did that a lot.
I think we talked about
it's
that
just
gray area.
Because you're I just figured it was just because you're a dick.
Yeah, I mean, part of it. Yeah. I've self-identified as an asshole. I would always say I'm an asshole. I'm not a dick. I think a dick does something intentionally maliciously for the sake of being malicious. I'm just an asshole.
Fair enough.
I'll be blatantly honest.
I don't know.
It hurts feelings. Yeah, sometimes I am.
Sometimes you're a dick.
Yeah. But I think so long as you have people who aren't just, I hate that, and I think that's part of why I hate people having a conversation where it just turns into a circle jerk and it's just nonstop everyone agreeing with someone else, like especially potheads. I love weed and I love all that stuff.
What's wrong with circle jerks?
When they're conversational in nature and there's no actual jerking.
Don't put because circle jerks are great. There's don't put this bad image in people's head of circle jerks that it's a bad thing. I don't like the term of circle jerks being used for that.
What term?
Circle jerks are great.
What term do you want me to use?
I don't know. Something other than that, though. Have you ever been part of a circle jerk?
Preaching to the choir? Would you rather me use that? When people are just preaching.
I don't go to church.
People are just preaching to the choir. But see, I guess it's the same in the same vein.
Wouldn't it be preaching to the preacher? What does preaching to the choir mean? That doesn't make sense.
Preaching to the choir.
How come nobody thinks about these things? How come it takes me having to have this in a conversation? Preaching to the choir doesn't make sense. Well, if you're getting all worked
up, one thing I called you on was whenever you used to say, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You absolutely can have your cake and then eat it, but you can't eat your cake and have it too.
You can't have your cake. What do you mean?
You can have your cake and eat it. You ever heard? You said that. I've had this conversation.
You can't have those. I still say that. You can't have those two things. I can't have it and eat it. If I eat it, then I don't have it. Right?
Right, but I think what we said was, and the way it was being phrased was that the order in which you say it is what mattered on that one.
I don't think it matters.
Because if you can't have your cake and eat it too, I can have my cake and then I can eat it, but I can't eat my cake and have it too on top of that. But I see. Why
don't we just let them eat cake?
Where does that come from? Is that
why do I have to figure all of this out?
I don't know, Steve. Why do you should put this on your resume? You're good at debunking. What are these idioms, metaphors?
Preaching to the idioms. I guess. Preaching to the choir. That doesn't make sense, right?
Well.
And whenever you're in a church, isn't the preacher also talking to the choir? The preacher's talking to everybody.
Let's see here. Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, you shouldn't be singing to the choir.
To speak for or against something to people who already agree with one's opinions. The speeches he or she makes to his or her supporters won't win any more votes. They're just preaching to the choir.
Oh, I guess because the choir is part of the church.
I think
so if they're part of the church,
that's how I would assume.
Then you're not going to.
They already agree with you, so you're not getting more people to agree with you.
All right, we need to come up with a better word for that, or a better phrase for that.
Colloquialism.
Yeah.
What would you like? What direction? Are you wanting to offend anyone, or are you wanting to keep this as politically correct, as PC as possible?
No, let's offend someone.
Who are we going to offend? Let's pick a group.
Who's on our list to offend today?
Who have we offended so far?
I think I just did. No, I'm not an offensive person. I don't think that I really offend people. What?
That's always been part of your shtick. It's offending your friends.
Being offensive?
Offending your friends. Yeah. Or saying something that would be offending. Saying something that if someone else were to say it would offend the people with whom you're around has been part of our shtick, I think.
I don't understand how something can be offensive, though, if it's true. I've never said anything that's untrue.
As I've always said, don't be one, don't get called one.
Exactly. Anyways, we got 6 minutes to talk about OnlyFans. You see the update about that?
Yeah, they're going back. So that was one thing I was wanting to talk to you about was from what...
Me personally?
Yes, because we've talked about you were saying like, what the hell are they going to do? What are they going to do? Like, what's the point? Like, what else do they do on there? Are you familiar with Patreon?
Yes.
Okay, so that there are some people on OnlyFans who do non-sexually explicit materials. It's in the same vein as Patreon. However, this whole thing that happened in the last few days with them saying they're going to do away with permitting sexually explicit content was, I wouldn't say essentially it was for PR. I'm sure there was an element to it, but they, from what I understand, it was a means to prevent worse backlash happening down the road, specifically from credit card companies, because their only form of accepting payment is through credit cards. And so sometimes credit card companies don't like when sexually explicit materials, depending on what it is, especially when it's going over international waters, what can be purchased with their stuff. So they're going to shut it down. There was a BBC report that was specifically calling out OnlyFans for permitting illegal content.
Yeah, I follow them on BBC. I follow that account on OnlyFans.
That's a good one.
Oh, the British Oh, okay. No, okay,
the British,
never mind.
the black British. Anyway, so some people are saying that it was just a smokescreen. Them saying this was purely a smokescreen. I think that was probably an element to it, but what the expose that came out with BBC was that they were permitting illegal porn on their site. And the means of, rather than immediately shutting down those accounts,
like underage people.
yeah, and depending on what country you're in and what all was being done, whether it involved animals, whether it involved certain other bodily fluids, how it happened, all that sort of stuff, again, varies from country to country. Because some countries, porn is just, you get sentenced to, I don't know if they actually follow through with killing people for it, but it's a pretty big deal if you just watch porn or have access to it. But what they were being criticized for was not immediately shutting down the accounts that would be reported. But from what I understood, from what digging I was able to do, is that their workflow for banning those accounts is if a post receives so many reports or whatever, that specific post is immediately removed. They then follow up with the account and be like, hey, you're getting these reports, you need not post this sort of stuff, or we're going, or we'll take further action on your account.
What kind of stuff, though, are you talking about? Are you talking about
anything illegal, depending on what country?
Child pornography?
Yes, anything underage, involving animals, incest. What else? Certain, like, if they're, like, one thing they don't permit is, like, shitting and that sort of stuff. Like, they don't allow all that, so, like, yeah, scat play and whatnot, all that on there. Because, again, depending on what country you're buying it from, where you're purchasing, all that sort of stuff.
Is that illegal here?
I don't know if it is. I know it's just not allowed on OnlyFans. I don't know. I know incest is illegal on most of the states except for Alabama. I don't know. But I think it's just flat out illegal to have porn online because, again, then you start getting into where the server is hosted. The credit card companies, are they going to allow payments to go through for that sort of stuff? And that's where the concern was for OnlyFans. As I'm understanding, as I'm taking it, is that by making a big hubbub about this, they're going to then, I don't know what happened behind closed doors and what the workflow, like what deal they may have worked out with credit card companies, what it is, if they were just trying to prove a point to investors and whatnot. But it basically was more from my
wait, do you think investors maybe like pressured them, hey, we should do this, and OnlyFans said, oh yeah, you think that's what you want to do? All right, let's just put this out there and say we're going to remove it. Let's see what happens.
Potentially.
That way they could be like, see, look, all your customers are going to leave.
Yeah.
Shut up, investors. We know what we're doing. Let these people show their tits.
Yeah. I think, though, the biggest element has to do with the credit card companies, because that's usually, if the credit card companies won't let payments go through, it doesn't matter how much investment you have no way to take people's money. If you don't have...
That's what happened with Pornhub, right?
Yes, and...
Remember Pornhub?
But they also had a... that's why they, they lost, like, what was it, like 60% of their videos or something like that whenever they changed
I like the new Pornhub.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's just more... I'm getting more just at the payment system. If you remove a convenient payment method for that sort of stuff, and you can get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all that shit, most people still don't know how to use that shit. They don't know how to buy anything with it, short of like going and paying a service to convert it, which then you're losing money converting it. And it's just a matter of convenience and being able to do business more than anything. And that was that means of doing business was threatened. And however their playbook was, them saying they're going to do away with it was part of that playbook. And it was to preemptively get ahead of what Pornhub was running into, from saying like, hey, if you don't clean this up, we're not going to allow payments to go through and you're going to have no way to take people's money. And that's what I think that was.
And I don't think that OnlyFans, though, has... I guess I don't know. But I wouldn't imagine that OnlyFans has any of the... or near the magnitude of problems that Pornhub had. Pornhub had some... bad stuff.
Yeah, and they still
bad stuff.
They still get lots of claims of people going like, "Look, I'm in this video and I didn't consent to this just because, whatever new workflow they have is still being exploited." And that's always going to be the case, but it's still, they need to do everything that they can to cut back on it. And they still get criticized about that. At the end of the day, these are still big companies that they're just going to take those complaints. It's harsh to say. I think that the complaint that someone hears at Walmart or other retail stores is going to be, taken as lightly as someone who's having revenge porn or something like that put out of them. But I think that's really just kind of the same way it's seen for these big companies, because it's like, well, yes.
It's just a company with somebody that has a complaint.
Yep.
And it goes through the... And
realistically, it is essentially impossible to get rid of every single one of those bad things. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't try to aim for, having 99.99% of them managed. Because anyone can go take a Polaroid.
You think everything should be physically reviewed before it's allowed to be uploaded?
Even then, there's still going to be things that get through. Like, you're never going to get that 100%. I don't think that's a realistic expectation. I think...
What do you mean? If if I'm the OnlyFans president and I decided today I'm going to be the one that has to give a stamp of approval on every bit of content, and I have to say
have one person or a team
watching it. But a team. I say that kind of jokingly, but like if you have a team of people, that would take care of it, wouldn't it?
It would take care of even more. You're going to obviously have a huge bottleneck, and then it's like, because I don't think we fully appreciate how many thousands of hours of content is uploaded every minute. I forget what the numbers were for YouTube, but it was something like you could have every person on the planet watching everything uploaded to YouTube, like a different video, and they wouldn't be able to keep up with it just because of the sheer volume that gets uploaded every single minute. And so I'm sure that number is a lot smaller on Pornhub or something, and on those sorts of sites, but it's, I think short of having like an exclusive studio on a site, or a very select number of studios that, or content creators, that's probably a more appropriate term, that are completely 100% verified, and them and only them are allowed to put stuff online, that's completely feasible. I think if you had a community where it's like, all right, if you want to join into this website, you've got to go through these checks and balances, and only the people we have an ID for, and even then, like if you do ID, social security cards, all that shit can be circumvented to some extent, but still that would be, how big of a wall, how big of a barrier to entry to get into that. Yeah. Because one thing that I was worried about when OnlyFans was going to do away with that was how many sex workers who maybe were prostitutes in dangerous situations that were able to make it doing this sort of thing in a legitimate, safe environment, how they were going to have to go back to something dangerous. Like we make all the jokes we want about, it's not a real career and stuff like that. But it is, people are willing to pay money for a service.
Who's making jokes? I'm not.
There's a lot. I mean, yeah, just because, I know we aren't, and we can laugh at, how silly. I think it's more silly to laugh at, or it makes more sense to laugh at the people who are maybe willing to put out a lot of money for some certain content, and they go into it with this kind of misnomer that there's something special because they're willing to pay someone a lot of money for something like that. Like there's something, like I forget what the term was, but there's something about that. Sure, but if you're to laugh at the content creators who are waking up, it is a lot of work to do that. Sometimes, yeah, you can make a lot of money doing it simple, but when you get to a certain level to like personally respond to messages, to do that, give that level of customization, to fill out requests and stuff like that, that's a full fucking time job. And it takes a lot of...
We should start an OnlyFans, me and you.
I've been open to doing that sort of stuff. It's just a matter of like, what do I have to offer that would make me unique? My feet. I ain't got pretty feet. I've got all 10 toes.
I'll make that the thumbnail for this episode. Is my foot in the camera. We'll see how many clicks
Steve and
we
Mikey
get.
started.
What if we get more clicks on this because my feet are on there? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my feet and I'm gonna put the OnlyFans logo as the thumbnail. Let's see what happens. I think it'll get taken down for the OnlyFans logo. People are weird about that. I know TikTok is like hello.
Oh, okay. I can believe that.
Crazy on
that's
that.
easy to scan.
YouTube,
that's easy to scan for. That's easy to have a computer look at it. You have to change the color, change the font, or something like that. But I just, if I could do that, if I could just have fun doing what I do.
Yeah.
Whether it's being naked or being behind the camera.
I just see something with you and food, like. Something with you and food is got to be your little thing, your little
my little thing
niche. Hey, wait a minute!
I was about to say we could make some homemade pasta smokies. And we could make penis shaped. I already do that. I don't know. Got to come up with something unique and creative and do a bunch of it really fast before other people start cashing in on it too.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I don't know. I could just jack off in a pool of macaroni and cheese. I'd be down to do that.
That sounds good right now. The macaroni and cheese.
Yeah. Not me jacking off in a little pool of it. Eat my way through spaghetti.
What's the most, I don't know. Maybe we should, I was going to ask, what's the most fucked up video you've seen on the internet?
For me, it's usually like someone dying in a big public environment. Like one video I've never forgotten, and I don't know why we were allowed to watch this in a high school classroom. I don't think the teacher fully realized just how shocking it was going to be, but there's a soccer player who had a cleat go through their spinal cord or something. Oh. And so they were dead, but the electricity kind of, if you ever had a dead fish or a lizard or something like that, the tail still wiggles and stuff like that. This soccer player's body was still flipping around and herking and jerking and like doing somersaults and shit just from the muscle spasms and stuff, but he was totally dead because I think he took a cleat to like the back of the neck or something. And that's just something like something about seeing something shocking with other people or knowing other people have, I think is what makes it hit really hard for me. And like knowing that also happened in a stadium full of people, there's just that level. And then I was also watching it in a room of people whom like, these are not people that go and look up like weird videos. Shepard, get off. I just gave Shepard a bath. And he's clean, but he's still a little damp underneath. And I just realized he's up on the bed. Anyways, he's whatever. I've got his blankets on top. I went and at least did that. I just noticed him in the video. Anyways.
I see him.
No one in that classroom was the kind of person who would go looking up weird stuff online.
Yeah.
So that from them to go, we were like signing about, I don't know what, probably, hey, how do we give someone directions to the library to sing a soccer play?
I don't understand. Wait, what?
How did it come up?
The teacher played that on?
No, the student was like, hey, let's watch videos. And they looked it up on YouTube back in the day, yeah.
Who was the student that pulled that up?
I don't remember her name.
Do you remember?
I don't remember her name. I remember her face.
It was a girl?
Yeah. It was ASL. I was one of three guys in that class.
That would... I didn't know sign language was for chicks.
Well, I'm not saying it was or is or isn't or anything like that. I'm just saying that particular class at our high school tended to be very heavily weighted towards women. What was her name? Sharika?
Well, don't say it on here. It doesn't.
Well, you just asked. Well, you can bleep that part out. I don't even know if that's right.
I thought you were gonna like be like, oh, it was
no one you know.
Hint at it.
No one you know. I only had this one class with this one person.
That's intense.
And they were in a much different grade than we were. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have known them.
So, anyways, what about you?
I saw a guy get his head cut off when he was alive, and that was what killed him.
Those beheadings, yeah, those are pretty gnarly. It was like one of the Taliban ones. Yeah.
I was a teenager when I saw that. It was, not good. It was back whenever you could get on stuff like that on like LimeWire or like BearShare or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that had to have been 16 years ago, and it still is like stuck in my head. I wish I hadn't
seen that. One thing I'll never click on, like I'll never risk a video, is if it's something with like animal abuse. Like there's been things of like, oh, watch this animal get microwaved or something like that. I can't.
I've never seen anything like that.
No.
I don't know that I could. Remember that? You watch that documentary on Netflix, Don't Fuck with Cats?
Mm-mm.
It was. I highly recommend it. I think it was exclusively on Netflix, so it should still be on there. I don't think it's one of the things that they take off. But it was about. It was a documentary about this person that started uploading these videos, killing cats, and then they somehow realized there was like a group of like internet sleuths that realized that these terrible things were like ramping up in these videos, and these internet sleuths are like, he's going to kill a person next. Like, this person is dangerous and we need to find out who it is. So they're like zooming into the background to see like the patterns of the bed sheets, to see where they sell that, things like that. And they're going to the police and they're telling the police, look, we have this evidence. You got to do something about this guy. He's going to kill somebody. Oh, y'all are from the internet. We don't know about that. And then he ended up killing somebody. It's a true story. It's a documentary.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. It's intense, but
Shit.
It's you have to get past the first 5 minutes has to do with him killing a cat. Like, you don't actually see it, but you see all the moments leading up to the moment of when that happens, and then it cuts off there. But I talked to a lot of people who were like, I couldn't get past that. I just couldn't get past that. I get that.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, anything with animals or children, that's going to be the like.
It's hard. Like one of the ones with, like, speaking of kids, do you ever see the documentary Dear Zachary?
No.
That's a hard, like, you can go and look up the news story for it. And I remember, like, I didn't recall the news story until I watched it and it got to certain parts of the movie. And so it hits way harder if you're going into it not expecting it. So I would say don't look into the Dear Zach or anything about it. But if you watch that documentary, it's because the guy making it was friends with the people who it was about. It was someone who's, you know, very much not intimately, but very good friends with them. And then things, as from what I remember, because I've only watched it once, more events of it unfolded while he was making it. And so he had to like shift the whole purpose of the documentary while it's all happening and stuff. So it's just like,
wow,
that was a heavy one to watch. It's one of those, it's like, it's worth watching. There's some pretty out there movies just because of how, you know, just rough they are.
There was a documentary, again, I think it was on Netflix, about this kid who was abused by his parents, and it was here in California. It was actually kind of close to where I live. I think it was just north of where I live. And it was one of the few things that I've watched that I had to pause and like not like I had to step away for a minute because it was that disturbing and like it was making me like almost have a panic attack just watching it. And I had to like step away from it because it was like too heavy. And again, it's that. It is worse. I was going to say not that it's worse when it's animals and children because they're like the poster of innocence. Like that's all they are, is innocent. And so when you see that, not that whenever adults are hurt by things that they deserve it, but it's just something different when it's a kid or an animal.
Yeah.
Well, what a fun way.
I was gonna say, like, holy shit, we have 6 minutes left, and we're talking about all these other movies are popping in, and I'm just like, I haven't thought about certain movies and stuff in a while, and I'm like, oh god damn, all right, I gotta watch some happy movies.
Yeah, oof, man, it's our world is fucked up, man. The world is fucked up, and
gotta find some good in it.
Yeah.
So
we got to try to be the good in the world, you know? Be the change you wish to see in the world. Who said that? Like Nelson Mandela or something?
Sounds right.
Somebody important.
I definitely tried to implement that, you know, with, you know, even just like even with little things like driving, you know, hey, I think I can get around this car to, you know, but it's like, making a left.
Oh, shut the fuck up. You shut up. You throwing D-cell batteries at cars and taking nickels and pennies and throwing them at cars when they cut you off. You are not allowed to say that you tried to be the better person on the road.
I was the better person because they deserved it.
You shut up.
Alrighty. But
I get what you mean though. I try to do the same thing. Like, even like, you know, the cashier at the 7-Eleven, you know, like just being nice, like try to make someone's day at least a little bit better.
Or like, yeah, you know, where I was going with the traffic example is, let's say, you know, you're coming up to a stop and it's like, oh, like here's my exit. You realize you're about to miss your exit. It's like, maybe I can squeeze in. If it's at all risky, if there's, you know, or if it's just like, you know, I can't do this easily without disrupting everyone else, just go down to the next exit. Spend an extra 5 minutes in your car, in the air-conditioned car, driving wherever the fuck you're going, and you'll get there eventually, and you won't risk. Because I'd say on average, every 3 days, I get a text about some major accident that's shutting down the highway and that's next to us. Like, not even 2 weeks ago, it was shut down for like 4 hours. No, like, just stand still. They shut it down. You could not leave from this side of the lake to the other side of the lake without going all the way to like a highway, you know, over for almost 4 hours because of a 7-car accident. And I can only imagine, you know, what was happening. But it's just, you know, just drive safe, drive slow, inconvenience yourself with that extra red light that costs you an extra 5 minutes, but get there alive and get there, you know, everyone else gets where they're supposed to go safely, you know, just those, like, being the change like that, like, I don't, you know, that's a pretty, I think maybe a dire example, but just even little things. If you see a bottle on the side of the, you know, while you're on your walk, pick it up, throw it away. You know, when I'm with Shepard, I try to pick up bits of plastic, anything I think an animal might eat. There's some things like tissues, you know, I obviously I won't go pick up and stuff. But if it's like a bottle, a can,
you picking up used condoms off the side of the road,
make a balloon animal out of them, try to give it to someone down the road. Yeah, you know, you don't maybe do that, but go and little things. Always evaluate if you can do something safely and may have a positive impact. You know, do it. One time that I try to remind myself was, you know, I had trash fly out of my window one time when I was driving, and I was freaking out, because I didn't know if a cop was going to see me.
You're a terrible person. I can't believe you would litter.
I pulled over, I got out of my car, and I made a U-turn, and I walked back. The thing nope, it was in Denton. I couldn't find the papers. It was like a stack of papers.
I would not have done that.
I could not find the papers, and so I was like, shit, all right, I got to pick up some other stuff. And I picked it up, and like something was wet when I picked it up, and I was like, this is the worst, stupidest idea.
What is the matter with you?
Because I was in panic. Well, if I'm being totally honest, part of me was like, oh shit, if a cop saw that, I'm getting a ticket. By the time I made the U-turn, I think the U-turn was illegal. There was no cars around though. But I made a U-turn, and then pulled into it. It was a church parking lot that I pulled into, and went to pick that up.
You littered in front of a church? Oh my God, Michael!
I tried to atone for my sins.
Oh man, we better
up.
put this disclaimer out again. None of this is real, because if people thought that was real, oh man. That's bad, man.
Yep.
I can't believe I thought I knew you.
Well, learn something new. That's the point of this podcast, right? Learn something new about each other.
All right, I'm gonna go. What is that? It's Indeed.com, right? Isn't that where people post jobs? I guess I'll start. On there.
I've had.
Indeed.
I mean, I had a
Monster.
I don't really like Monster. I've used them as both an employer and as someone looking for jobs. Never had great luck with them. Remember, it's Monster singular, not plural.
Oh, thank you.
And it's what else? ZipRecruiter. I did get a lot of hits on. That's the one that all the podcasters listen to. Who knows? Maybe they'll sponsor us someday.
You know what we do is we just start reading ads.
Send them a bill.
Submitting it. Just send them, and send it. I'm sure there's got to be an email address that's like, you know, ads at, you know, ZipRecruiter.com or marketing, whatever it is, advertising at ZipRecruiter.com, and just send them, all right, this was the air date, this is that, we wanted to give you a little snippet, find the enclosed, and just see what happens.
Probably get cease and desist letter, but, you know, we can try.
Hey, maybe we do it to 100 sponsors, and if we just get a little bit of money from one, so it'll be worth it.
I think they do it per number of views, so I think it's something like maybe.
Well, I'll tell them it's many, many views.
Yeah, it's who knows? I don't even know what numbers they send for that, but we're at 14 views on their first episode, so we're almost there. Alrighty.
Speaking of which, we got to get a website going. So I made. We'll talk about this. Let's wrap up.
Sounds good. Oh, what's the name of this podcast?
Oh shit, we got to start over. I didn't say the name of it. Oh no. All right, we're gonna start. All right, 3, 2, 1.
For Steve, I'm Mikey.
No, hey, this is the Damn Good Friends. Thank you for joining us. What's up, Mikey? How have you been? Oh, it's too late to restart, huh? All right, we got to get out of here. This has been Damn Good Friends. My good buddy Mikey over there. My damn good friend Mikey. I'm Steve. And I guess I will
For Steve, I'm Mikey.
For Mikey, I'm Steve. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Love you, pal. Love you.